The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read. Your source for news, politics, sports, and all things trending. Here's your host, Marcus Gentry.
While tonight's news is not a surprise, while this is something that we have been expecting for a long while now, while this is something that we certainly have been thinking through the implications of for a very long while now, so while this does not come out of the blue, I do think there's one thing we all need to be preparing for here that we are maybe not prepared for. And that is what I think is the very high probability that this is going to be boring.
Welcome to the Daily Read, and I am your host, Marcus Gentry. Well, this is the first one, people. This is the first one. Now, if there's no riots in the streets, Georgia and the feds is going to indict Donald Trump also. I'm telling you what's going to happen. They got him under this, but it's a misdemeanor. This is what you call testing the waters. They want to see how the population is going to react. You see, Donald Trump, as I said before, is one of those once-in-a-lifetime figures like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Obama. People don't look at him like that. But when I see life, I look at the forest. I don't look at just the trees. And I'm seeing it. In white culture, Donald Trump was like the last great white hope for these people. These last remnants of bigotry that's still trying to hold on to their hatred for black Americans and Spanish Americans. He was like that last great white hope for them. He is that Malcolm. I can't say he's a Martin, because Martin was more of a peaceful person. But he's more of a Malcolm X of white culture. He's a flamethrower, a bomb tosser. That's what Donald Trump is. And now, this misdemeanor, if that's what it is, don't get it twisted, people. This is not felony charges. This is a misdemeanor because people get charged for mishandling paperwork for their businesses all the time. You can get charged for it. I can get charged for it. Anybody that owns a business, if you don't handle your paperwork correctly, you can get charged for it. That don't mean you're going to do no jail time. Donald Trump might not get no jail time for this. He might get a fine of a couple of $1 million and maybe 2 years, probation, if they convict him. Because there are still people in New York that like Donald Trump. Even though a lot of people in New York can't stand him, that's why he left out of New York and went to Florida. But he still has people there that secretly like him, that are secretly bigots. So who knows who they're going to put on the jury for his trial. But this is a misdemeanor case. It's not a felony case. And they're going to allow him to turn himself in. Matter of fact, this is not even a federal case. This is a New York State case. But you can believe that Fannie down in what's her last name? Fannie Wilson. I'm gonna get her last name real quick. I got so much stuff going on. Fannie Willis down in Atlanta, and the DA that they brought in from overseas in the feds, both of them, they're watching to see how people react to Donald Trump getting charged with a misdemeanor. If there's no riots in the streets behind this, you can rest assured that Georgia's going to charge him next, and then the feds is going to come in and charge him for those top secret documents. This guy didn't even want to charge Donald Trump because, number one, like I said, it's a misdemeanor case, and I don't think he wanted this on his record, being the first person to ever charge a ex-president, but the powers that be probably put their heads together and talked amongst each other and decided that we're going to test the waters. So they're going to charge him with this misdemeanor. They're going to see how things go. And then if people ain't hitting the streets, burning buildings down, that's when you're going to see the other charges come. But like I said, this is a misdemeanor. And I want you to listen to a brief clip of what Rachel was talking about when it comes to this.
Criminal law. The actual adjudication of cases like this one, as much as we know about what kind of case this is before the indictment is unsealed, the actual adjudication of cases like this is often a very boring thing. I will tell you, since this particular district attorney, Alvin Bragg, has been the district attorney for Manhattan, his office has reportedly charged falsification of business records as a felony count 117 times. He has not been DA for that long, but in that time, he's indicted on this charge 117 times. And that's what you call trivia, because it's not that important. Not one of those cases was interesting enough to make the news on its own terms.
You see, when she said this is trivia, that's what I was talking about. People get charged with this all the time. The thing about it is, Michael Cohen, his lawyer, his fixer, he went to the feds for this. The feds didn't want to charge this, but the state took it up. And for those of you who don't know too much about the law, the state and the federal are two separate entities. They can both charge you, or they can charge you one and the other one decide not to even bother with it. So that's what's going on with this. They got together and they decided that, hey, we're going to test the waters with this because we're going to charge him, period. But we want to see how the public is going to react. And that's basically what's going on. He's basically being held where he's going to turn himself in for mishandling his documents for his business, paying Stormy Daniels, the porn star, money, hush money. But the act itself of paying a porn star was not the problem. They tried to hide it through his business paperwork. That was the problem. So they're testing the waters with this, people. That's basically what they're doing. Now, Ron DeSantis is the real problem. Ron DeSantis is a Trump clone, but he's far worse than Trump. And the reason why is because Ron DeSantis, he's not as goofy. He's Trump 2.0 without the slow. And what I mean by slow, some of you, hood term, retarded, slow, lacking in marbles. Donald Trump can give off a goofiness sometimes, even though he has evil intent right up under the surface. But he has a level of goofiness that people can't really take him serious. Ron DeSantis is dangerous. He's very dangerous. And if people look back on our history, this is how the Civil War started. Ron DeSantis came out and said that he wasn't going to help New York detain Donald Trump if Donald Trump refuses to go and turn himself in. This is wrong on a couple of levels, because now the people that get charged in the state of Florida and other states contact Florida and tell Florida we want to extradite this person, they have what you call precedent. Let me explain to you what that means. I've dealt with this in court cases before. Precedent is when somebody sets something in place It's not law, but they make it a new norm. Okay? Like, say if a white man, he was to throw a ball and it hit somebody, and it was an accident, but they refused to charge him with throwing the ball because they said it was an accident. Black man throws a ball 6 months, a year, 2 years later, it hit somebody. If they try to charge this black man, he can go back on the records and see that the white man 2 years ago threw a ball and it hit somebody and he didn't get charged for it. So now his lawyer can go in court and say, you know, what's good for one is good for everyone. You know, we need to follow precedent. It's the same way with Donald Trump. If Ron DeSantis refuses to help New York bring Trump in, anybody that hides out in Florida that has charges in other states, if those states call Florida and say, you know, we want John Doe, we know he's in your state, can you help us get him? John Doe can always go to the law and say, listen, y'all didn't send Donald Trump to New York, so y'all set precedent. He has what you call grounds to fight on to keep other states from coming to get him out of Florida. You understand? I'm hoping I'm being clear to some of my listeners out there. This is Law 101. You know, I studied some of this stuff. And Ron DeSantis is playing a dangerous game. He's trying to appease the Trump supporters by talking his tough talk about not helping extradite Donald Trump. But what's going to wind up happening is New York is going to call up the U.S. Marshals. The U.S. Marshals is going to go down there if Donald Trump doesn't turn himself in. The U.S. Marshals is going to go down there and get him. And if any state police in Florida stand in the way, they're going to get hit with federal charges. Because state law is state law, but it doesn't out-Trump. You see how I use that? State law is state law, but it doesn't out-Trump U.S. law. So when them feds come in there and get him, the Florida State Police can't do anything about it. If they do, it's going to be some major problems. And I always talk about history sometimes on this show. This is how the Civil War, the first Civil War, started, where you had a few states that was refusing to follow behind U.S. law. They wanted to branch off and do their own thing. And I'm hoping that Ron DeSantis doesn't start another civil war in this country. I doubt it'll get to that level. I doubt it. But this is dangerous territory. This is some dangerous stuff. Listen to what she said about Ron DeSantis.
There is one thing that has happened today, not the indictment itself. The thing that has happened today that does potentially pose a threat to us as a country is something that somebody completely outside this story, completely outside this criminal process, completely outside this news, decided to do in response to it. And that is something that happened within 5 minutes of Trump's lawyer first putting out the first statement to reporters that Trump would turn himself in for arraignment early next week. We got one Trump lawyer telling reporters early next week, Trump will turn himself in. Within 5 minutes of that first statement from Trump's lawyer, a Republican politician named Ron DeSantis, who is the governor of Florida, made this statement online, saying Florida will not assist in an extradition request, given the questionable circumstances at issue with this Soros-backed Manhattan prosecutor and his political agenda. And that's some of the verbiage in this statement from Ron DeSantis that echoes word for word.
You see, Ron DeSantis is playing a dangerous game. And for a long time, see, a lot of minorities don't know anything about this. I follow the news. I've been following the news for years. You know, the places I've been in life, sometimes news was the only source of material that you had. Newspapers, news, talk show, radio stations, especially when you're living in the mountains. And I've been to a lot of places. And when you in these places, you starting to pick up on things that other minorities don't pick up on because they're so used to listening to hip-hop news and things of that nature. But there has been a lot of talk in Republican circles about some of these states getting together and disengaging from America. Some of these Republican states. I gotta look the name up. It's called Congressional Congress meeting or something like that. But on the next show I'll make sure, and I might put it in the if anybody that's listening to my program know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about, but I just can't get the name right now. But put it in the comments below. But a lot of U.S. states, especially the Republican-ran states in the South, have been talking about, they'll use terms like divorcing the United States or disengaging from the United States. Texas already done took themselves off the national grid. You see, that's why Texas every year or two has major problems with storms, because they took themselves off the national grid because of greed. And when the state grid goes down, the national grid comes in and helps the people in that state with power. So whenever there's a major power outage in Texas, it's because they took themselves off the national grid. They're trying to disengage from America and the U.S. government, and that's a bad move. That's a bad mistake. But if anyone know about this, because I read about this a few years ago, and next week I'll find the exact name of it. It's a law where states that are unsatisfied with the U.S. government can actually have a congressional meeting and decide to disengage from America. I'm gonna get the name of it, but I'm pretty sure some of my listeners who are smart enough to know this, they'll text it in the inbox below. But that's enough of Donald Trump. Today, when I come back off this break, we're gonna talk about gangs, the G-code, and the whole myth and fakeness behind it. Some of you young black men need to understand and know this, because it took me years of being loyal to stuff that has no loyalty to you at all. It took me years to find this out, and I'm gonna lose a lot of friends behind this. I don't care, because most of the people that I lose behind this probably never been inside before. You see, once you go inside and you see with your own eyes what's going on, it'll make you think different. By me telling you, some of y'all not gonna get it, but once you go in there, you'll get it. You gonna look back on what I just said in this podcast, and you're gonna get it. So we're gonna talk about the whole G-code and gangs and stuff like that when we get back.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
And we're back with the Daily Read, and I am your host, Marcus Gentry. All right, let's get into this. Let's take a deep dive into this, because a lot of people look at me as being brash or rough around the edges sometimes, but they don't understand where I've come from and the things that I've seen. And I talk crap. I talk shit. I do. I have a heart of gold. I give you shit off my back. But I know danger when I see it. I know snakes when I see them. And I know when people are trying to take my life. Understand, money moves mountains. And I started this off by saying that because I don't think a lot of people get it. The peons inside of some of these gangs, the foot soldiers, the grunts, the guys you see on the video screen pointing the guns at the screen, them dudes right there, they what you call cannon fodder. Okay? If you don't know what cannon fodder is, look it up. Look it up. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give you the definition for it. Cannon fodder. Soldiers regarded merely as material to be expended in war. They end up serving as cannon fodder in wars like Vietnam. I'm gonna let that sit on your soul for a minute. Cannon fodder is what most of these young men are who still run around here screaming G-code, move in silence, no snitching, stay loyal. And then when you get inside facing 20 years and you stay loyal, the same people that you stay loyal to, the ones that drive the Bentleys, the ones that bring all the cocaine in, the top hats, the leaders, they turn around and tell on the cartel. They turn around and tell on other people. You doing 20 and 30 years. They do 5. And get out, jump right back in them Bentleys, start hustling, selling dope again. And it's like you never even existed. It's all fakery. I just had a person tell me I need to keep it loyal. After I just told a person these unloyal people try to take my life over a woman I don't even want. Just because I dismissed her. I got standards too. Sorry. What is there to keep it loyal to? You see, 28 people attacked me on social media. Probably more. I don't think half these people knew that an attempt was made on my life. But you know what? If the feds come knocking on their door and tell them they wrapped up in a murder case, these people gonna tell it. They're gonna start pointing fingers at each other. I didn't know they was gonna kill him. I was just told to pick at him a little bit. Cannon fodder. Understand what this is. I had to tell an old friend of mine. He looked like he was texting me to get some information. I peeped the whole scene. It didn't get past me. Because I had recently cut 2 other friends loose. Took them off my pages. And then he come texting me. I peeped right through that. I'm going to tell you what I told him. I told him basically, man, live your life, man. Don't worry about all that G-code crap. Live your life. Pull your family out of poverty. Because the wealthy, they don't follow by no G-code. The wealthy don't care nothing about you. The movers and shakers, people that got certain things going on in life, they got more than you, they'll use you as cannon fodder. And they ain't gonna send your family a dime. Not a dime. They're not gonna give your family nothing. When you watching your kids suffer for years, and you can't call these people up and say, man, drop a couple of $100 off on my daughter. You know, she needs some school clothes. You can't call these people up and say, man, I need a lawyer. That case down in Atlanta. That case down in Atlanta. With the rapper. What's his name? Young Thug. That's his name, Young Thug. You see, this ain't gonna surprise none of you. You know why Gunna snitched? And the rest of them finna start snitching? I'm gonna tell you why. Because they got money, and they already know how the system gonna go. They gonna go in for 2 or 3 years, and Young Thug is finna get life, or 20, 25, and then he finna get out. Now, let me tell you how. Gunna, he knows the people that supplies the dope. The people under him that snitching on him, they don't know these people. So they telling on him they finna get 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, and he looking like he finna stand strong, right? Everybody taking pity on him, right? No. He might do 2 or 3 years, and Young Thug gonna be back out of prison. He'll never have a rap career again, but he ain't finna stay in there. He not finna stay in there. Because like I said, he knows the suppliers. He gonna tell on them. Young Thug might do 5 to 10 years. And then they gonna try to claim that, you know, he got out because a new law helped him, and it's a lie. It's bullshit. Let me tell you about this T.I. character. This is what opened my eyes to a lot of things. I watched this man get locked up in the feds with guns and silencers. A silencer is 30 years. I'm going to say that again. Having a silencer is 30 years. He had several of them. You know how he got out and he running around here arguing with Boosie, showing his paperwork? You know why he can show that paperwork? Because he know, I know, and some of the guys that's been in the feds know, it's a rule called Rule 35. Rule 35 is when you go to prison, you don't snitch on nobody, but you get a family member or a cousin or a wife like Tiny to go set up another drug dealer. And once they get locked up, they'll let you out. Your paperwork's still clean. You ain't snitched on nobody. Understand how this works, people. Understand how this works. That's why he's able to stick his chest out and say he ain't told on nobody. Understand how this works. You see, when I seen this going on, and it surprises me. It surprises me when I see these middle class people still running around here trying to play like they mobsters. Half of these people ain't never been inside. They still run around talking about G-codes. They crazy. Ain't nobody following by that except for the grunts. Them the only people following by some type of G-code. The grunts. The foot soldiers. You know, the guys at the bottom that you step on, throw them away. 50 Cent said it best. He said, you got some people out here that are basically throwaways. You know, these throwaway guys. Yeah. I took myself out of the system. I'm not finna be a throwaway guy for nobody. Not no gang, not no group, not no organization. You're not finna throw me away. I'll throw you away first. Period. I don't commit no crimes. I ain't out here moving and shaking like that. I'm a hard working man. I'm a square. I done squared all the way up. I just thought I'd give you guys that message, because there's some young guys out here who used to know me back in the days, and I was with it. I was with it. Until I actually seen all the throwaway guys in there. I went to a halfway house. And there was a guy in there that had 26 years when me and him first met each other. He got 26 years. He beat me to the halfway house. He did 4.5 years off a 26-year sentence. I was shocked when I seen him. His family bought him a Lexus. They came up to the halfway house, bought him a Lexus up there, big box of clothes. I was shocked. He turned around, jumped right back out here, found him another connect, start hustling, selling dope again, and went back inside. For 2 years this time. The whole time, all of the people around him that was keeping it real, keeping it G, they did their 25, 20 years. But them dudes were foot soldiers. They were grunts. He wasn't no foot soldier. You know, he got pictures with Jay-Z. He got pictures with, you know, Lisa Ray. He showed me pictures with Lisa Ray standing next to his Lamborghini. You know, I met that guy Phil. It was a club in Memphis called Premier. I met Phil. The boy couldn't read and write. He asked me to help him with his court case. And he wanted me to write a letter. The premiere is called Level 2 now. They changed the name of it. He gave $50,000 to the owners to help get that club started when it was called the premiere. And Phil couldn't read and write, and he asked me to write a letter for him. He was showing me pictures, man, of movie stars and rappers. He said, man, I made $1 million twice. And I'm thinking to myself, all the guys that was with him is serving 15, 20-year sentences. And this little rich, pampered ass kid, he out here riding around in Lamborghinis. He ain't keeping it G. He got out in 5 years. Went out there, came right back. I don't know how long he did this time, but it wasn't long. It's a fraud, it's a phony, it's fake. That's why I learned how to move out here. I move different now. And people don't like how I move, but I move the way I move to stay within the law. And still get my point across. You don't like it, fuck off. But you try to take my life, I'm gonna put you where you want to go. Since you want to act like a mob boss, I'm gonna put you where you want to go. You and anybody with you. That way you can see how real mob bosses are. Yeah. I just thought I'd share that with you. You know, a little realism. You know, just a little realism. I wanted people to understand I'm good people. I give you the shirt off my back. I jumped out the gangs and jumped right into some middle class bullshit. These people run around here trying to act like they tough, like they mobsters. Anyway, this is the Daily Read, and I'm out.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
Business.